What's up, everybody? Today we're talking about Kanye West's lawsuit and the legalization of weed, all that and more on Black Hollywood Lives this week. I'm assuming we're doing that over.
I was like,
I was like, that's a What's up, everybody? Today we're talking about the Kanye West lawsuit and the legalization of marijuana. All that and more on Black Hollywood Lives this week.
You are tuned in to Black Hollywood Live this week.
Hey, I didn't even know Derrial could get this ratchet.
That's how I do, baby.
he's like, that's how I do, baby.
I don't think you can do that in a Salmon shirt. I don't know if that's a thing.
Hey, listen, it's summertime and it's hot.
Seen what Derrial can do.
You ain't seen what I can do, all right?
Seen what Derrial can do.
You ain't seen what
We
I
done
can
seen
do.
some shit.
Listen,
And Derrial can do some
I can do a
You've
lot.
seen it.
Okay, I've seen some
I can do a
shit.
lot. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
But we ain't gonna talk about that right now. We're gonna talk about Black Hollywood Live this week. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Derrial Christon, and joining me today is Courtney Stewart.
Hey, y'all. Y'all know who I am. And we got some guests up in here today.
We do got some guests because Jesse's at a press junket today, right?
Yes, he's at NBC.
press
Yeah,
junket.
talking to Will and Grace, and I'm so excited because Will and Grace is coming back.
They are.
It actually has 2 seasons.
Yes.
It already has.
It already has 2 seasons.
Yeah, but
Yes.
of course, I mean, it already has a history of being good. So I mean,
Love
come on.
it.
But our guests today are 2 TV personalities.
Yes.
Camilla Poindexter to the left of me,
What's up? It's been a long time. I had a baby, but I'm back. Snap back.
looking good. I mean,
hanging, looking
snatched, girl.
fabulous, y'all.
Snatched.
Say
She got on
that
some little shorts. And
I need
stuff.
some lube implants now, though.
Girl, stop playing.
Yes, I do.
Oh, you just
I
get a big,
would
just get a
disagree
lifty
with
bra.
that.
Just get a lifty bra.
I've seen your Instagram. I would disagree with that.
Oh, wow. I'm
You
not
know,
gonna comment
things
on
that you can do at home on Instagram, filter, pump it up, all that.
You just need a bra. You don't need nothing else. You just need a bra.
Well, also
Or you
joining
can
us.
just let him swing because
It'll be-
Darren's happy.
Listen.
With
listen,
the
I'm
sneaky
happy.
ball bra that everybody
But focus
talks
this
about
way.
now.
Yeah, but you did that though. You had
I don't know
to
if I feel
do it.
comfortable being in the middle of this.
You're in the middle of this. You're in the best position on
we
this
went
show
male,
today.
female, male, female.
Oh,
There's a
perfect.
reason.
But also
why
joining
you
us,
covering up?
Courtney, you
What
not
do
let me
have in
introduce
there?
him.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm
Let me introduce
grasping
him.
my
Also
he's
joining us
clutching
today
his
is TV
paper.
personality Tehran.
I am Tehran all across the board, the bathrobe, heartthrob. Thank you for having me.
said the bathrobe.
The bathrobe, heartthrob.
I don't know how this is gonna work out right now because I feel like
You're gonna have the time of your
Yes,
life.
You're gonna have the best time.
That's how it sounds, and it always sounds good on paper when it's 2 girls involved, but it doesn't work out the way it sounds. It just seems like everybody
What
goes
you been
home
doing?
unsatisfied. That's just what
Well,
it
Tehran,
is.
okay,
I
well-
think that's you don't need to say that, bro.
No.
Yeah, you shouldn't say that.
I'm
bro.
always
you,
gonna
you
speak
just
the
you
truth.
just dissed your own skills. Though.
Listen, it's just like now I'm
can't do-
disappointing
you
2
can't have
women.
the two
Like no,
women.
I'm just being honest.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm glad you're here today because we had a discussion last week. If you guys didn't see it, we had Claudia Jordan and Tiffany Pollard,
Yes,
aka
we
New York, on the
did.
show.
Y'all check them out on Sharknado
Check
this
it out,
weekend.
Sharknado this weekend, this Sunday. But we had a conversation about blue balls. And they didn't. We're going to go into topics, I swear. We do have some legit
I
topics
can
today.
believe
Why, this is a
But
legit
I'm just-
topic.
no, but
Let's
this is-
get
but
to
I
this.
just want to just clarify this because we didn't really have closure on it. And now that we have you two here. So there is a debate about if a man really has.
That is not what the
Okay.
debate was,
What's the
Derrial.
debate? What's the debate?
We were not saying that blue balls isn't a real thing. The question was this whole idea that men get like backed up and backed up and backed up, and that somehow you just like gotta release it because it
That's
keeps getting
true.
backed up. All over a period of time, like women can, you go and you have, celibacy for a while, and you're not backed up.
So we have
up
different body
per
parts.
se.
Right.
So we're just trying to say, is it really like obviously if you get a hard on because you saw a chick and it didn't quite work out, and blue balls maybe is a real thing because you was hard at that point, and then it doesn't get released.
Right.
We get that. But we're just saying, is it really the truth that it's really getting backed up if you were to be celibate for
Sure,
like,
but Courtney,
like a year?
if I can be fair, even though there is an amount of sexual frustration and males maybe exaggerate the amount of effect that blue balls have, there is a functionality that you're forgetting. The functionality of our two sexes is very different.
Yes.
So it's when you think of the component of the release, which is what the penis is
He's breaking it
Get
down.
deep.
So
Okay.
I mean, scientifically
It has
too.
to
I'm
go
like,
through the
wow.
vas
Okay.
deferens and make
Okay.
its way out. Like
it's supposed to release, which is why there's
Wait,
of course nocturnal emissions where you will just
supposed to release. Okay.
Of course.
Okay, but the women similarly will have a discharge if they're not necessarily having sex all the time.
Sure,
like
but it's not-
you get wet
Yes.
if you're
Sure, but
not
that's-
like. So
the
we're just
functionality of becoming
we're not saying
wet,
it's the same.
Hold on, is not the concept of being wet is the lubrication,
Right.
right? But the concept of ejaculation
breaking it
is when you are basically disseminating fluid in order to, for whether it's for fun or not, is in order to impregnate.
impregnate a person.
That's what,
That's
that's
fair.
your body.
So
male
now that
body
we have a
goes into.
functionality concept, well, the functionality is it is supposed to release in certain cycles. Everybody's body has a cycle. You
Women have a cycle and
you
we
have a
release,
month.
and it's
so
not
if you
just-
don't get your period for a little, you know what happens? You have a baby. So with men, the cycle isn't as drastic as getting their monthly period, but there is a cycle in which the fluid needs to be released.
Released.
So does
Yeah.
it hurt?
No.
Like, how does
Yes.
it feel?
It
It is-
becomes, especially if you're
to
aroused
know.
for a long period of time
It
without
hurts.
this release, it feels sore, it's
Yeah.
tense, it's also a muscle.
why
If
not
you're
just
aroused
jack
for a long
yourself off?
time, but like that's
You
what they can do.
You can do that, but still, the intensity of the pain before you ejaculate.
But the concept was
it
still:
hurts.
is it possible that that can still be mind over matter at any point?
It ain't
or
mind over matter.
is it not possible that like you can be like monks in freaking Tibet?
Sure, and I can walk on coals,
Work-
but the average nigga not doing
Well,
it. Like, I'm just
obviously,
not-
nobody's arguing that,
I'm
but that's
trying
the
to
point.
break it down for you
That's-
nicely.
But that's the
Yeah, right.
point.
You did
But
your
that's the
thing.
same thing. Like, but we're saying that it's not
Everything is
that
mind
far
over
from
matter.
women because women are similarly. It's mind over matter for the most part. It's
Yeah,
not
for
like
me, it's not
suddenly
gonna matter
like.
because I can make myself like if I've had a situation where
Sure.
I can mess with somebody and I have to put myself in the mind to come to here to get your ass off of me.
Exactly.
Sure.
So we
Okay.
do control it just like
control
you
it, like,
do.
okay.
So let's
But women
take
are
it-
good at that, though.
let's take
That's,
it to
that's
a-
you guys can.
And
fill
we're
that
not saying
lane
it's
well.
the same. We're just
It's harder for
the
dudes to do
conversation
that.
was just whether or not it was because they were trying to act like it was not an option. It was just something that regardless, no matter what, it was just going to blow up or the balls were going to fall off because it was.
It
like,
hurts,
not
but
able-
it isn't intense.
It hurts when I'm not getting fucked, but that's not the point. Like,
All right.
you know
On
what I'm
that
saying?
note,
Like,
okay.
that's not the point.
Maybe that might be an ego thing. And if you ever have a problem with that, please call me. Here's the thing. I mean, I'm
There you
not
go.
putting it down for two,
Put his
but
shot
for
in there,
one,
Courtney.
I'm just saying, I mean, I'm in a bathrobe, people, please.
I mean, yeah,
So,
you're perfectly dressed for the
you
next
just-
scenario.
You just had you had a child. And
Yes.
so I'm assuming that your mammary glands are in the process of processing milk, correct?
Oh yeah, but
So what happens if you don't feed for an
well,
extended
I'm
period
out
of
of
time?
milk at this point. My
Okay.
daughter is sucking me dry.
Because but what happens if you don't feed
It's
for
just
a
gonna
It hurts,
bleed. It's
right?
gonna hurt.
It hurts.
It's gonna
Engorge.
come out.
They call
So
it
that's
engorge.
a really good analogy.
Your breast
That's a
is
great
so
analogy,
hard.
actually.
It is. The question still is how much of it, because that is entirely biological to feed
We're
a species.
ours is
No,
biological.
can't do this
but
with
that's
my
the
mind.
question because there's still an element. However, it may not be the same percentage in terms of the mind involved in the sexuality of a man as it is with a woman. But how much of the mental power is involved in that?
I mean, I'm not going to
physical
say
part?
that there's no mental power in it, but I am going to say that it is the physicality of the buildup that happens that causes pain. It's
But,
not
like, can you
mentally, I'm
think- 'cause
like,
I knew a dude,
it's
right?
pain, you know, let me
'Cause
cause pain.
I knew a dude, right, that like if I like, because I'm a jerk.
Courtney, who-
I can be a jerk.
Who
I can be a
hurt you?
jerk.
Who hurt you?
No, nobody hurt me.
Who hurt
I've
you?
actually had really great relationships with men, so I have no negative things about men. But I'm a jerk sometimes, just because I think it's funny and
No
I can
way.
be. So anyway, but I knew a
you teased
person
him?
that there's something that I could say every time, like if this person was like super excited or aroused or whatever, and like just to be a jerk, I'd be like blah blah blah, and say this one thing that would completely like turn it off for him, and it would like ruin it, and he'd be so pissed off, like why would you say that? Like why would you bring that up? So that's like playing with the mind versus the biology. So it's funny to me that men try
Sure.
to act like it's so much about biology and like oh we can and our balls are so blue, but there's a lot of mind power in
Sure,
that.
but there's always the debate of nature versus nurture, and what you're talking about is a social conditioning, or in this case, an emotional conditioning. For
It's something
whatever
very
reason.
It's something very
However,
specific.
you do have a physical component to
Absolutely.
this and a physical condition. So it could be in extreme, intense pain. It just depends on the genitalia itself and the
Yes,
person
and
itself.
everyone's genitalia is different.
And everyone's different. And
Yes.
so what we're doing is there an actual concept of blue balls? Yes, there is.
Absolutely, which we
Does it
accept.
cripple The average person, no, it is not my kryptonite. I will still be able to function. I'm not going to be in Walmart like, gotta do it now, and then just do it. No, I understand. However, there is a functionality to it, and if you dismiss that, then you're dismissing the male gender.
And nobody
Very true.
dismissed that, and
And-
he corroborated the fact that there is a physical aspect, but there is also a mental
There
aspect,
is a
and that was my only.
mental-
Of course,
plays a-
sex. If
mental-
you think sex starts below the neck, you're starting it wrong.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on, but actually, we're gonna show
I'm
a
mad
trailer.
that was like the entire conversation.
That was the entire. That was,
How
that was our
long was
entire
that?
show.
That's our show today, guys.
That's our
Thank
show
you,
today. That's all you
and
get.
we're
But we
done.
concluded the conversation at least. But we're going to show a trailer for a new movie from a woman who probably has given men many blue balls by watching
Many?
her.
How many
You know.
balls?
She crazy, I think.
Miss Halle Berry with her new movie Kidnap, which both of you saw.
Yes.
We saw it, y'all.
So we're going to show a trailer if you guys haven't seen the trailer yet, but here it is.
Pull the car over now! Help me! They've got my son!
But that white cop didn't see that coming.
My son's been kidnapped.
There was some parts pissing me off.
Frankie!
Like him
That's
naming his
another-
kid Frankie. I would be pissed about that too.
If you wait with me here, we'll file a report.
That's what all these people did. They waited.
Found you, you son of a...
I would have did this.
I've actually done that, and so
Oh, God! Frankie!
Just had to keep coming, didn't you?
Halle Berry.
Where is my son? Let me tell you something. As long as my son is in that car, I will not stop. Wherever you go, I will be right behind you.
Kidnap.
Wow, I'm actually impressed with that trailer. I've never watched it all the way through.
I haven't.
That
I
looks like
actually
some
haven't
really.
seen the trailer.
That
You should go
seems
see it
real
from there.
legit right there. That seems one of Holly's best performances.
we have to be kidding right now, right? This is not Monsters Ball. This is Frankie.
Okay,
Where's
well-
my son? I'm just
Okay,
lost.
well, you
Go
two
with
saw
that,
it. You two saw
Monsters
it.
Ball. I have my feelings about that, but
Sure,
that being
'cause of the
said,
scene.
but that
Sure.
not even because of the scene, but whatever. That's another whole conversation for another time. I advise everybody in the world to go see Kidnap, and I'm gonna tell you why. Okay, this is not like an Oscar like situation movie. This movie, I kid you not, and everybody's like laughing and finding so much joy with Girls Trip, which I did also. But I will tell you, I'm not even lying. Me and Jesse went and saw Kidnap, and I laughed out loud hysterically multiple times, way more than I did at Girls Trip.
Yeah, but this isn't a
It's
comedy,
not,
though.
but it's one of those movies.
She said, it's not.
It's not. But it's one of those movies that you go to and you on the edge of
gonna
your
yell back
seat
at the
and you
theater?
just yelling at the
At the
screen the
screen?
whole time and you just really had a good time.
Yes.
It was quick. It was a 90-minute movie. That is the best damn ad I have seen for a Lincoln Town and Country minivan in my entire life. That entire movie was an ad for that minivan.
Really?
Like I
It
damn near
was.
need. Like I feel like I should buy one to drive around Los Angeles so I never die because that fucking
Wow.
van like made it through that entire movie. Like
So
it
there were
was-
two plugs, not just for the movie, but also
the
for
Lincoln Town and
for
Country
the
did. Like,
Lincoln.
get yourself a Lincoln Town and Country because that van just went
Let me
through
find out you're the
it.
spokesperson.
Okay,
Let me find out.
It
Go ahead,
went
get that
through
check.
it, and they got. But it was ridiculous, but amazing. Like it was just.
So she
funny.
can make you mad sometimes.
Hell
because
yeah, she
as a
made you
mother-
mad. You're
as a mother-
yelling like, bitch, why you turn around? Why you do this?
You know,
Like you do that the whole time.
The time that she made me mad the most is like, okay, look.
you can't tell them.
You can't tell. You can't
Oh,
tell about
what's
the
happening.
parts.
Okay, I won't tell the part.
Because it don't
but-
come out till tomorrow. Or,
Right.
tomorrow.
Yes. So she will make you mad as a mother
She would make you mad.
because she did
as
some
a mother,
things.
because I'm a mother now, so I looked at it as in a mother.
You're like, I would never do
I'm
that.
like, I would never, but then I'm definitely chasing after you when it just in the trailer it showed when she stopped, pushed
Yes.
the brakes and went back. I would definitely be doing that crazy.
And you
mom.
said that too when it was showing. Now,
sure.
Now, what I saw, it looked like because of the experience of her being a mother, that she's channeling that as if that was really her kids, that could really happen to her,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what the energy she used. But I don't know, you looking like that's not the case.
I mean, she used some energy, you know.
Okay,
But
alright.
you talking about like acting prowess and all this extra stuff. Like, just go see the
Just
movie
go
because
see it. It's just entertaining.
Like, it's
Alright.
just
It was a
entertaining.
good movie.
I'm mad that she named her kid Frankie. Can we discuss
Why
this?
he can't be named Frankie? What's wrong with Frankie?
No one.
Why
Maybe the dad's
why
name is
can't
Frank.
he be named Franklin and it'd be okay? And she calls
You're
him
gonna call
Frankie
your kid
for short?
Frankie?
Maybe her
Why?
dad's
What's wrong
name
with
is
Frankie?
Franklin, and she named him after her
Well,
dad.
then she's gonna have to change her dad's name because
I think she was called Frankie in one
I'd
of
have
her
to break
movies
up with a girl
before.
like
Yeah.
what Frank? No, okay. Next,
You gonna break up with somebody named Frankie?
Yeah.
Why?
Frankie just can't.
Why?
That's not
Because
good.
it doesn't sound
There's an
hot.
internal
man.
issue about Frankie and your
Did you
mom.
I'm
know
so
if
sorry.
Frankie
What's your
did
child's
something to you?
Dylan.
It's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
Dylan. It's
All right.
one of my favorite 90210 casts. It was,
That's where I got it from.
that's
so
amazing.
dumb.
All right, on that
That's
note, we're going to move on to these topics. Courtney, what you got
Name
for
a
us
good
today?
Frankie.
Oh, am I up first? Are we talking about Facebook and their AI situation?
Yes.
Okay, so there was a, so we talked about this a few months ago, I think, that Facebook was sort of doing some experimentation in the AI world, and actually that the Facebook interface that we use will eventually also sort of incorporate AI into what we're doing. But a report came out this week that was freaking everybody out, and it was like circulating all over the web talking about Facebook basically shut down their AI program because the bots that they had sort of like set up and were developing had basically taken English and turned it into their own language and were speaking to each other and doing things that they could not control or weren't aware of, so everybody freaked out. Everybody freaked out also because there was just maybe 3 weeks ago, I think we discussed, Elon Musk gave a speech at a governor's conference, I think it was in Rhode Island, about his concerns with AI technology and how we're not ahead of it. Like we need to get ahead of legislating basically the ethics around AI technology, because if we wait, it's going to surpass us and we're going to be in a hot mess. So that's why the report sort of came out sort of jaded the way that it did, and people were freaking out online. But depending on sort of what end of the spectrum you are on and in terms of your beliefs of what's happening, basically what Facebook is sort of saying is that they had been experimenting with bots that negotiated with each other over the ownership of virtual items. And the report seemed to insinuate that they invented their own language to do something scary to us, which wasn't the case. It just says that a better explanation of it was that the bots had sort of found shorthand between each other, the way to communicate, and it's not that serious. They're not about to take over the world.
That's what they
And
tell
That's
us
what
right
you
now.
tell us now.
that's what they're saying now.
And they ain't going to tell us so much.
And they went on to sort of explain
government.
that it's not really clear how neural networks come to produce output once they're sort of put in those circumstances. So to sort of assume that like the bots are about to take over the world and do all this is just like our scaredy cat like idea, and it's fictitious and we should just like dismiss that. But why they shut down the program was actually because it sort of delved into some things that they weren't actually trying to research or cared about, so they weren't interested in it.
And also the
that's why they shut
shorthand
it
was
down.
not useful or practical for Facebook. Facebook's gone on and purchased 4 artificial intelligence companies in the last 2 years. Now, the thing about it is it's developing it for its own purposes. First purpose is, of course, how to market to us better. Facebook basically just gathers our information and it sells this information, whether it's to the government, which is a big, large percentage owner of Facebook, or to marketing companies. That's how we get all this stuff for free. It's the internet is for free. No, it's not. We're paying with it with our advertisements and our consumerism. So the concept is the shorthand that it came up with, which by the way wasn't a spoken language. It was simply dots between both. So in English was shorthand that the average consumer would not be able to understand. So when one bot was speaking to the other bot, it would say, I need 486. Like it would sound like that, right? Basically, it'd read out like that. But if I'm a consumer who's contacted Facebook and wants help or wants to be directed towards a store or online purchasing you, that does not help me. I don't understand it. And so it becomes useless. What the media did was the media took a spin on it, as it often does. So there's 2 sides to every story, and then there's the truth. And unfortunately, with biased journalism, what we get is pictures of artificial intelligent robots that had nothing to do with this in form, and it's like
it's a fear
Facebook. Well, it's also because newspapers exist in order to sell copies. They sell copies, and how they do it is by sensationalism, sensationalizing a story and a byline and a tagline that catches our attention. And this one caught everyone's attention. We're talking about it on the show.
Well, it's also because we've been talking about this subject for many, many years now, too. You know, I mean, we've had movies that are made about it. And there is an element that I think that you know, as advanced as we are, it could bite us in the butt eventually.
I definitely think it's going to bite us in the butt, because I think that it's easy to be like, oh, that's not what it's supposed to, that's not what we're doing. And for Facebook, maybe that's not what we're doing.
Right.
But I do believe in innovation, just like, you know, the human mind can come up with some amazing stuff and things that we don't necessarily know how to control. We don't even really know how, or didn't prepare for how social media would affect our culture.
Right.
So the concept that artificial intelligence and, oh, it's just, you know, it's fine, and we don't really, like, I do think we should be ahead of it and try to be ahead. I know it's hard to be ahead of it because you don't really know what you're trying to be ahead of, because you don't know what it's going to become. But to sort of brush it off, like, that's not what we're trying to do. That's never what we're trying to do. You don't ever know what you're trying to do sometimes, and something comes as a byproduct of trying to do something else. So if we're not at least aware of it and not dismissive of it, I think there's a space that we need to be so that we're not dismissive, like, oh, ain't no robots gonna take over the world. That's not the point. The point is there's a big range between the robots taking over the world and what we're doing, and like we should actually be paying attention and be aware, because things change culture quickly, technology-wise.
They're already starting like AI with
police
work and everything.
Exactly.
And that's kind of
and
scary.
and the vehicles.
Yes, and the
vehicles.
And in the end,
but is it scary if it's fair? So
it's not.
We also
fair.
want our police departments to be unbiased, and then here comes along a computer that's unbiased. So
is it though? Will it be though? Because that's what makes me nervous. Will it be?
It could program it to be like, shoot the black people.
Exactly.
You brought up a great point when you were like, we didn't know what social media was going to do to influence the culture. And that's because you lived in a time before there was social media and in a time that's after social media. So then you would have a conversation with your grandparent, and they would say, we didn't know what the telephone would do.
Of course.
Because it's just technology. Now, is there a Terminator 2 possibility and Telnet comes through and just kills us all? That sounds, and once again, it's like it sells a lot of tickets at the movies, and these Transformers, these robots, and everything's indicative of the next step. But we're way far from that. So I think we should worry about things like, I don't know, recycling.
I agree with you. But here's the thing.
That's going to kill us.
But what makes me nervous is that I agree with you what you said earlier about it's to sell, you know, stories, it's to sell magazines, it's for people to download stuff. But on the flip side, they only give us a piece of what's really going on. And if there's any piece that's a little bit dangerous, that makes me nervous that it's a bigger problem than what they're really presenting to us, and down the line it could become a bigger problem.
Or it should actually make you feel comforted, because they rarely ever tell us the actual truth. So it's like, uh-oh, this is what's really going on. Guess what happened today? Brad Pitt broke up with Angelina.
Right.
So is it actually there to cover up the truth? I mean, that gets into a whole different topic of sensational journalism and the concept of media, and the fact that in the United States, for example, with all these independent articles and journals and broadcasting systems, it really comes down to 10 people owning all the media that we are aware of, especially the mainstream media, I should say.
Yeah.
So it's basically a group of 10 men
people deciding
that
what
own
you
it.
receive.
And they
fair.
do. That's true.
And that's true.
But at the same time, if you're speaking of technology as a curve in society, in terms of growth of technology and changes in technology and how it changes how we live our lives, the changes of technology have grown exponentially in like the last probably 10 years compared to when the phone was introduced, when the radio was introduced. Like, yes, huge changes happened, and you know, worlds were brought together in ways that hadn't happened before. But in terms of day-to-day life and experience and what people are doing and how people live their lives, that has grown and changed exponentially in ways that weren't imagined probably with the phone, but even more so now because of the amount of changes that have happened. So I think that to pretend like that didn't exist and just like, oh, it's just like when the phone came along, or it's just like when this came along, I don't think it's actually the same. I think that it is growing faster and in ways that it hadn't gone before. And that if nothing else, I don't think, can we get ahead of it? I don't know, probably not. But at the same time, to dismiss it, to me, I think is a disservice to us.
But that's anything. That's anything that happens regardless. We shouldn't just dismiss something, but should we live our lives or be in an awareness where we're like, this is what's going to happen no matter what? Elon Musk is one person, and while, mind you, he's possibly one of the most intelligent people on the planet, and I I really think that this is going to be the person that saves the world. However,
That's deep.
that's one
You-
person's
You are
opinion.
real positive.
Yeah, you really.
Well, Elon Musk has ideas and concepts and is putting his money where his mouth is when it comes to these ideas and concepts, and is willing to invest in ways that the average corporation, let alone the average individual, has not been, because it's not self-serving. He's making profit off of saving the world. Tesla and his tunnel ideas and his innovations in architecture are going to change the
Haven't
world.
read that book I just read. It's like he gonna end up dead in like 2 years. 'Cause they gonna come for him.
They're gonna
and snatch
right.
him up.
Sure,
because
because
that's
that
not how it works.
that unfortunately has seemed to play the part in the
That's-
world. But as far as this story goes with artificial intelligence, I remember a time where I was in 8th grade math and my teacher going over calculations with me, and it's like, you're not always gonna have a calculator in your pocket. I'm like, bitch, I do now. Like, here's the thing. The concept is artificial intelligence is here and it's here to stay. And how we use it is up to us. It's up to us, and we talked about consumerism. It's up to us, the consumer. We can delegate how far we want it, and we've often given up our power for convenience. Often.
Yeah.
We don't need to. But when it comes to self-driving cars, I don't see you complaining about power steering. And if you know what, don't know what power steering is, if you've driven a car where you've had to, exactly.
I don't want to be in those
it's
cars, so it makes me
innovation.
nervous, but
Hopefully, this doesn't become one of those situations, and we have to hope that the people who are coming up with innovations are responsible, as they have been.
Bam. Courtney, what else you got?
He has such a positive
He does. He does.
He gets deep.
Mine
in it. It
is
makes
so
me like-
negative. I'm like, oh, I have so much to come back on that. But we're gonna go to another topic. So I'm gonna see. This is a positive topic, or at least I think it's a positive topic. So I think we talked about Confederate, which is the new series by the creators of Game of Thrones that caused a lot of controversy about a week and a half ago when the announcement came out. Which is it's an alt history drama that's going to be done by the Game of Thrones creators, basically about whether the South won the Civil War and slavery continues, and it's 2 countries, and it's like the struggle and what would happen or what it would look like now based on that. So since all that controversy came out, Amazon sort of like dropped another sort of press release about a project that they actually talked about back in February that was coming out with Will Packer at the helm of it and Aaron McGruder. Oh God, I love you so much, and I'm so glad you're back. So they had a project together. They announced it in February, but nobody knew like what the project name was, like what it was about. Like they didn't release any details, but all the drama surrounding Confederate made them sort of come out with some more details about it because they wanted to let y'all know that they are also working on an alternate history drama about sort of the end of slavery, and it's called Black America, and it's about basically the freed slaves had taken over Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama and formed their own country called New Colonia, and it's sort of the relationship between New Colonia and the United States and how they've struggled over the years, and it sort of picks up at a point where there's been about 2 decades of peace between the 2 countries, and the New Colonia is thriving and doing amazing, and United States of America is on decline. So it's an interesting concept. It's sort of their version of Black America with reparations sort of idea. Will Packer basically said that he and Aaron sat together and talked about what a huge honor and responsibility that this topic would be, and for him, he said, quote, "It's a drama, but it wouldn't be Aaron McGruder without traces of his trademark sardonic wit. So we gonna get a little Boondocks and a little Black Jesus."
Oh yeah.
I'm excited
And
for
I
this
love
one.
that energy coming on. And they asked him specifically, they asked Will Packer about his opinion of Confederate and whether he thought it was a good idea and all of this. And he basically said, quote, "The fact that there is a contemplation of contemporary slavery makes it something that I would not be a part of producing nor consuming." Quote, "Slavery is far too real and far too painful, and we still see manifestations of it today as a country for me to ever view that as a form of entertainment."
Brilliant.
That was a brilliant statement.
No, I mean, it was brilliant for them to use it at the right time. See, so this show was coming out and there was an interest, and it was very controversial, especially it was in the heat of the Colin Kaepernick movement, and it was dividing. And so they waited until something happened, and what happened was the blessing in Confederate. It's not like Confederate is this pro-slavery TV show. It's still going to be socially conscious. But when they saw the backlash, what they did was sensationalism. They jumped on it and said, "Oh, we're going to release this. This is the anti-Confederate. This is what we're
It's a smart plan.
out." And it's brilliant to do that. So it's brilliant. And what is he supposed to say? He's not going to be like, "I can't wait to see Confederate too."
Well, then the difference too is that because of Will is it's the black producer, black team versus Confederate, which is Game of Thrones.
It's Game of Thrones, two creators, but they are using two black writers.
They are black writers.
It was amazing.
And I would
but they're
just
not putting
say
them at the forefront, though.
They have. I mean, they've been in all of the press releases.
Okay.
It's the Spellman, so like they've been there. But I would just say, my opinion, because everybody's been like, "Oh my God, how are they having Confederate? This is awful. Like we live in the slavery remnants today. We don't need a show about this." My personal opinion is simply that, from an art perspective and creative perspective, I think that this to me shows like how miraculous and where we should be. Because the idea that there can be that alt history drama in existence about the Confederacy winning, and there's also, because the whole argument is always, yeah, we see slave dramas and we see Civil War, but there's no balance. And the idea that both can exist in the same space at the same time, to me, I feel like it's like the next level of TV and like existence in terms of art entertainment for us that we've never seen. And I'm so glad to see that both sides get to exist. And I never thought that the Game of Thrones people were going to create something that's just going to be like pro-slavery, like what the fuck, and going to be all problematic. But I do think it's an interesting perspective to see what they come up with, and also to see what our people have come up with for Black America.
Is that out already?
No, it's just they just announced that that's their next project. I don't even know if it's going to premiere until probably 2018.
I think like 2018, 2019. Yeah,
so like probably it's a good year out.
Like the end of 2018.
And I know that they are far along with Black America, but I don't even know that that's still going to be a 2017 thing. I think it might not be till next year. But like the idea that both can exist in the same space, like to me is a big deal. And I don't know how nobody can see that like that's a big deal. Like that's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
That doesn't sell. Like thinking about both, which you thought of.
Yeah, I mean
that doesn't sell, so that's not what they're gonna play on.
I don't expect them to play on it, but as consumers, I think that like the people that were so angry and making comments under Confederate and all of that, I'm like, do you see that the fight has actually been that we need to have our own voice in addition to what else is out there? You know what I'm saying? Like the goal has always been like we all are here, we all want to be at the table. So
And when you said like our people created, just to give a heads up, our people did create Confederate. It's just the producers that came on behind it were people
I just
who were
mean they needed the HBO, the Game of Thrones gave
because
them
those writers
able
did come
to
up
do
with it.
Exactly.
That's true.
And they needed
which is why I'm not mad and I want to see it.
No one's mad at Man on High Castle, which is when the Nazis win. And it's like,
well, some people are.
Sure, and
it's got a little bit of backlash.
But just because you're offended doesn't mean you're right. And here's the concept of freedom of speech: is that if you don't believe in freedom of speech for those you disdain, you don't actually believe in freedom of speech.
And just one more thing, because I read a lot of stuff about people being upset that white people were telling a black story in terms of Confederate, because they were upset that the two Game of Thrones creators are white people. White people were actually there too. And the idea that what they can bring to that to show other white people and other people in general means something. And I think that we lose sight of that because we are trapped in a space where like they always trying to tell us what we went through and what our stuff was. That's not what it's about. And I think that they are smart enough, and I hope that they're smart enough to actually give us something that we can actually think and cause people to think and cause other white people to think also.
That's true.
I want to have your babies.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, we're gonna move on
because
get
pregnant?
We actually.
You won't do that? I might let you.
Courtney, we actually have to. We have a shorter time, so we're gonna.
Oh, how we got 2 minutes? It's 5:57.
Oh my God! I looked up right now like.
Because we talked about blue balls.
Oh, that was your fault, Derrial. I'm sorry. I didn't realize we were so short on
story?
time. I don't know what my next story is because I got to open my phone. Well, okay, we can talk about this real quick. Okay, so 50 Cent got mad, y'all, because he posted on Instagram like 2 days ago. Quote, I woke up feeling a little different about Power this morning, the show that he does on Starz. If the biggest show on your network doesn't mean anything, what does your network mean, Starz? I'm taking my talents to South Beach. Fuck this. Okay, and then he posted a bunch of pictures that he was angry, basically. So apparently the deal is that Power requested to have 12 episodes, I believe it was, and they only got 11. So, or 10, I don't know what the deal was, but they were trying to like explore. I'm not caught up because fucking Hulu didn't post season 3.
I'm caught up.
And I'm mad, and I wouldn't watch season 4 until I saw season 3, so you messed up, Hulu. But anyway.
The first episode was supposed to be 2 parts, and it was
It was
one
supposed to be
part.
2 parts.
This isn't the first time 50 Cent has been upset at Starz.
Yeah,
as
he's
the
well,
network.
yeah,
It's also
he's
a
been
smaller
mad. Yeah.
network.
But
so
he also has a show coming on BET called 50 something that I don't want to
The
look up
comedy
right
show.
now. But so people are thinking like he's gonna ditch Starz and like not whatever. But it's a great show. They haven't gotten the critical recognition, even though critics have
I
been
agree.
very positive about the show. But they
People
haven't
love it.
gotten any awards or nominations for anything. So he's just kind of in a space emotionally. But I'm like, you doing
You
good
know
work.
he
Just do good
is
work. If they let you,
emotional.
like, you know, take it to another network if you need to. I don't know what their deal is.
Take it to HBO.
it doesn't work.
He
that
might
way.
not
Yeah.
legally.
I know it
He might not
doesn't work
legally.
It doesn't work that
able to.
way. But with
But maybe their deal is up. Like maybe they only have 4 years. I don't know what the deal
it
was.
also is he wants more money and wants this, and
Yeah.
also
and I
to
don't know
win
if
an
I see
award you have to
Power
put
on
money
HBO.
into it.
It doesn't look like an HBO series Power to me.
I actually think it could be an HBO show.
know.
Like I was actually.
I mean, it could be a YouTube show. Nowadays, it's like.
Well, that's true. What is it?
I mean, it could be on YouTube. I mean,
That's true. That's true. All right. Well, 50's upset again.
He's
Hopefully
mad.
he'll be able to resolve that because we have a few more topics we need to go to. All right. Speaking of also upset rappers is Kanye West. We're going to go to Kanye West. We're going to skip Airbnb since we only have a few minutes. Kanye West is in the news again. You know, he had all that drama last year about quitting his tour. He was on the 21. I think it was 21 shows he canceled last year. There were several reasons.
Pablo
The St. Pablo tour. Some people were saying that is because of his mental breakdown. Then he had the situation with Kim being robbed in Paris. So basically, he didn't fulfill his obligation to finish all the tours. But now he is suing his insurance company, Lloyd's of London,
Smart.
and its affiliate syndicates for $10 million, alleging that it's delaying a claim stemming from the 21 canceled dates on last year's tour. West filed with his touring company, Very Good Touring. The suit alleges that the Lloyd's investigation into the canceled tours resulted in information about West's medical conditions being leaked to the press. Also, remember, you know, like I was saying, Kanye had all those mental issues. So they're coming back and saying, well, you know, we're working on this, but we're investigating the fact of what was the reasoning for some of these mental breakdowns. Like they're alleging that maybe there was some, you know, drug usage. And if that is the case, that cancels out some of the agreements. So making things worse, you know, Kanye made most of the dates, but he was forced to cancel, like I said, because of Kim. West's lawsuit claims that Lloyd is contractually obligated to cover the cost of those canceled dates, is willfully ignoring the evidence that West was incapacitated, and that the company has suggested that it may deny coverage of the claim on the unstoppable contention that the use of marijuana by Kanye caused some of his breakdowns. That is like, they actually put that.
Well,
they
no,
actually
because
put
marijuana is a drug. So if I was driving
Technically,
a car
technically it is a
and
drug.
I was drunk,
Yes.
then it would
And
forego some of my
if we
insurance
have regular
responsibilities.
insurance, we have our regular insurance.
All
and we
y'all
get into a
rappers
car
out
accident,
there, honey, y'all need to get a rider on your insurance.
Right.
That marijuana is not on the list, because if you go crazy because you smoked a little bit, it's over
They
for
won't.
you.
They will never do that. Lloyd's of London also insures J-Lo's butt. I mean,
Yeah,
this
they
is
insure
the
everything.
insurance
Sure.
company of insurance
Oh, right,
companies
her legs
and the
too.
auction
Sure.
companies of auction companies.
Yeah.
So the contingent is because instead of getting an insurance adjuster, as soon as the claim hit, they went straight to their lawyers. That seems to be the point of contention in the litigation regarding this case. This
Yeah.
case is, people are like, well, how can he sue because he canceled? Because they're insured. All artists are
Right.
insured. Celebrities
They're
are
all
insured.
insured, yeah.
When you do a movie, and let's say, God forbid, you die before the movie's out, then that movie's insured for the price so you don't lose the money. Kanye owes a lot of people money for
does.
canceling
He does.
tours.
And he
wants
doesn't
the
wanna
money.
pay that, right.
Exactly. It's not like he's taking $10 million and pocketing it. He owes
No, he owes
people.
people
He
money.
owes people. They return their tickets. He owns the marketing campaign, the advertising. He owes his own company
and
because
10
there were
million actually
workers.
seems small.
So $10 million is
$10
off
million.
this one policy. He's been paid off on
'Cause
everything
I was gonna
else.
say that seemed a little. bit
It'll be interesting to
small.
see where this case goes. I think Kanye is going to end up winning, but you know we'll see where it goes. Okay, last thing because we got to wrap up. Senator Cory Booker wants to legalize weed. Congratulations,
Why are we even
Jersey
still
Democrat.
talking about this?
Booker introduced a wide-reaching bill on Tuesday of this week that would drop the federal prohibition on marijuana and even encourage states to legalize the drug nationwide.
Good for him.
He believes that the war on drugs has failed. Families have been torn apart. Billions of taxpayer dollars have been wasted. Too many Americans are behind bars, especially people of color, and we know about that. He said legalizing marijuana would go a long way to solving those national problems. I've seen a lot of very compelling preliminary data that shows there's a drop in opioids overdoses in areas that have better access to marijuana.
No shit.
What do you guys
But
think about
who's
that?
in the Justice Department? Jeff Sessions ain't about to make that go down. They already trying to make civil rights for white people a thing.
That's
like
not
they're
the
not going to
Justice
get rid of it.
Department's situation. So if Senate passes it, that's different. But what Booker's actually doing is he's putting in his marker and throwing in his flag for a future possible presidential run, saying, "Look at me, I'm in the highlight, I'm in the air." This isn't a new debate. This has been 80 years in the making.
old.
Paper industry, forest industry, agriculture industry, all against the legalization of marijuana. It takes a lot of money away from people. Economically, it's not as viable as a lot of people think. It sounds great, but there's a lot of other reasons other than just the drug use
Because it changes,
itself.
but it's still a very taxable
It's a
commodity.
taxable.
Sure.
Like it's still a very
But
taxable
you know what else
commodity.
is also taxable commodity? Jails and privatization
Well,
of jails.
obviously.
Yeah,
Once
well,
we
clearly, yeah.
re-privatize jails, which we did under this administration, we've taken a whole new turn. That's
Oops,
why.
except you were being positive about people like
Sure.
5 minutes ago,
No.
and
I
now
might be
you're
misunderstood.
reminding me
Camilla,
that.
do you
No,
think
I
they should
didn't
legalize it?
misunderstand.
You
I
did think-
understand.
You're
'cause
thinking in
I-
terms
like-
of positive and negative. I'm just thinking of terms of real.
Wait, I want to hear
I
Camilla.
feel like-
You feel like they should legalize it?
Yes.
Yes, I do feel like they should legalize it because honestly, I know a lot of people that do a different source of marijuana, which is like the pure form for different things like cancer.
CBD.
And,
Of course.
Yeah, CBD,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think it's great, and I feel like if you abuse something, that's your own fault. Like if you want to have a drink, you're not
Well,
supposed to
let
drink
me-
5 drinks.
Way more people die
Let
from
me
drunk driving.
throw this at you though.
true.
Camille. What if I
ain't never killed
legalize
nobody.
marijuana and 1 million people lose their jobs? Should we still now legalize
But
it?
what are we losing?
We
our jobs
make it
for,
legal
though?
for corporations to like skip out on taxes and
That's
move
true.
shit overseas
Sure.
and still
Alright.
sell shit to us. Like it's bullshit. Like
Yeah.
it's
It
all
is.
bullshit.
It is. You know what? We're going to continue the conversation. Hit us up on Twitter,
Sorry, guys.
Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. We're sorry. It's getting heated and we got to go. Courtney, where can fans find you?
I'm everywhere on social media at Stuart Starlet.
Teron.
I love you so much. I think I have blue balls at I am Teron all across the
God.
board.
You can hashtag
At
that.
I am Teron. If you don't know, ask your girlfriend. She probably knows.
You can find me on Instagram at The Real Camila P and on Twitter at I Am Camila P.
You can find me at
still not
Derrial
the
Christon
same.
on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Seriously, send us notes, tweet
to
us,
us
talk to us on
in the
YouTube.
comments, y'all. We love
in the
y'all.
comments, because we want to continue the conversation because we didn't get to finish all the way today because
Sorry.
we had so many.
Dapper and
We
Dawn
talk too
coming
much.
soon.
Yeah,
I
Dapper
just
and
said
Dawn
it.
coming soon. You know
I
about
threw it
that.
out there.
Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.
Spoken into existence.
Deuces.
From executives Keven Undergaro, Derrial Christon, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African-American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio, Instagram me at KingXOBet. Thanks for tuning in. The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.